How to create a vegan world, a pragmatic approach. In this thought-provoking book, Tobias Leenaert lives well-trodden animal advocacy path and takes a fresh look at the strategies, objectives, and communication of the vegan and animal rights movement. He argues that given our present situation, with entire societies dependent on using animals, we need a very pragmatic approach. How to create a vegan world contains many valuable ideas and insights for both budding advocates for animals and seasoned activists, organizational leaders, and even entrepreneurs. Tobias Leenaert is one of today's most important writers regarding animal issues. Matt Ball, other accidental activist. Tobias Leenaert goes beyond the obvious reasons of why the world should go vegan and provides valuable insights on how to effectively make progress towards that goal. I would highly recommend this book to new and veteran activists dedicated to helping as many animals as they can. Nick Cooney, author, Veganomics and Change of Heart. A must-read for anyone who wants to maximize the impact to make the world a better place for animals, for everyone. Melanie Joy, author, Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs and Rear Cows, que je lirai plus tard, et un autre livre d'elle. Tobias Leenaert blogs at veganstrategist.org, speaks all over the world for the Center for Effective Vegan Advocacy, which he runs with Melanie Joy and is co-founder of ProVeg International. He is the founder and former director of the Belgian organization EVA, Ethical Vegetarian Alternative. Lantern Seek the Light, lanternbooks.com, veganstrategist.org. How to create a vegan world, a pragmatic approach, Tobias Leenaert, forward by Peter Singer. Prize for How to Create a Vegan World. Tobias Leenaert's writings are consistently some of the sharpest and most perspective material in the animal protection movement's literature. His advice gives activists the tools to play a decisive role in ending the era of industrialized animal exploitation. Eric Marcus, publisher of vegan.com. As religious, political, and dietary dogma enjoys a heyday, How to Create a Vegan World offers pragmatists a welcome haven. With research supporting his position, the author contends that in valuing both small changes and sweeping ones, we can build rather than bulldoze a way to a compassionate and sustainable world. Victoria Moran, author, Main Street Vegan, and director, Main Street Vegan Academy. The animal rights movement has been waiting for a book like this. Tobias Leenaert goes beyond the obvious reasons why the world should go vegan and provides valuable insights on how to effectively make progress towards that goal. I would highly recommend this book to new and veteran activists dedicated to helping as many animals as they can. Nick Cooney, Vice President of Mercy for Animals, author, Veganomics and Change of Heart. Tobias Leenaert has a unique and practical point of view on all things vegan that cuts through the issues that, like a knife through a firm cake of tofu. He is not afraid to challenge common misconceptions and norms with his penetrating, fact-based reasoning. Always independent and illuminating, we count on activists like Tobias to lead the way towards a vegan world. Tate Tibbott, founder and president of the Tofurky Company. How to Create a Vegan World is a must-read for anyone who wants to maximize their impact to make the world a better place for animals. Tobias leenaert synthesizes this wealth of research with his own extensive experience as a vegan advocate to present clear arguments and practical tips for effective vegan advocacy. I highly recommend this book. Melanie Joy, PhD, author, Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs and Wear Cows, co-founder and co-director, Center for Effective Vegan Advocacy. Some animal advocates are content just to be right. Tobias leenaert doesn't want you to be just right, he wants you to be both right and effective. There's a big difference and he'll show you what it is. Paul Shapiro, The Humane Society of the United States. Tobias leenaert is one of today's most important writers regarding animal issues. Probably his greatest strength is his ability to stay focused on what will actually help animals in the real world. Especially in this time of social media and filtered feeds, it is incredibly easy to focus on what is popular with people who are already vegan. Tobias, however, looks beyond his likes and retweets and instead stays focused on the bottom line, reaching new people with the message of compassion. Matt Ball, author The Accidental Activist and co-author The Animal Activist Handbook. In the meat industry had to pick one book they don't want you to read, this would be it. Sebastian Joy, founder and director, ProVeg International. Big-hearted and level-headed, Tobias leenaert shows us how we need both idealism and pragmatism in the animal rights movement, and that we can make greater, more strategic strides through collaboration, inclusiveness, and meeting people where they are at. Listen to Tobias. Joanne MacArthur, photojournalist, author, We Animals and Captive. Tobias leenaert makes a very convincing argument for why a food-first approach should be an essential part of the strategic toolbox of the animal advocacy movement. A refreshing, compelling, and ultimately very positive book that should be read by everyone who wants to help animals. Bruce Friedrich, Executive Director, Good Food Institute. The single most important book on the subject. With wit, compassion, and humor, Tobias brilliantly combines light-hearted stories with hard-hitting facts, ultimately leaving the reader with a renewed sense of purpose and joy. If you want to master the most effective strategies for reducing societal consumption of animal products, this ultimate guide is for you. Brian Cateman, editor, The Vegetarian Solution, and co-founder, The Vegetarian Foundation. Drawing from the research on successful behavior change as well as his own extensive experience, Tobias leenaert has created an essential tool for anyone who wants to change the world for animals. How to Create a Vegan World is thoughtful, pragmatic, and provocative. It's also packed with useful tips that are likely to make your advocacy more effective than ever. Virginia Messina, MPH, RD, author, Vegan for Life, and co-author, Even Vegans Die. Tobias leenaert doesn't want to be right, but applies a pragmatic approach to create a big societal transition. He does this with a keen eye for human nature. Like Bertolt Brecht noticed 90 years ago, food comes first, then morals. Jaap Korteweg, The Vegetarian Butcher. Tobias' pragmatism is this book in this book is refreshing. Any method that leads to reduction of used resources, greenhouse gas emissions, and animal suffering should be pursued. Personally, and to illustrate Tobias' points in this book as an habitual meat eater, my inclination to become vegetarian or vegan is boosted by eating in a spectacular vegan restaurant, having a vegetarian daughter, and meeting rational people like Tobias, than my professional endeavors or my encounters with proselytizing vegans. Mike Post, the creator of the stem cell-based hamburger. This book contains many of the ideas I wish I had come by immediately when I went vegan in 2005. It would have saved me and others from countless fruitless discussions. Highly recommended for any vegan who wants to make a difference. Marie Klosterhalfen, CEO and President Albert Schweitzer Foundation. Through a rational, strategic approach, this book shows the reader how we can all play a part in ending factory farming and sparing billions of animals from suffering. David Coman Heidi, Executive Director, The Human League. Tobias Leenaert is the meat industry's worst nightmare. A triple threat visionary who is also utterly pragmatic and who writes well. His book is stuffed from beginning to end with great advice that backed up by research and common sense and is well delivered. If you care about saving the animals, read it. Hilary Whiting, vegan activist and author, The Lifelong Activist. In the movement charged with emotion, pragmatism can often be overlooked. Tobias takes a critical look at how to create change in our modern society model, and his thoughtful viewpoints teach valuable evidence-based approaches to achieving victories for animals. John Bachman, CEO, Animal Charity Evaluators. I wish How to Create a Vegan World fell into my hands years ago. It would have profoundly impacted my views on what helps the most in animals. If you care about saving animals, you should not only read this book, you should have it on your bedside table. Sharon Nunez, President, Animal Equality. How to Create a Vegan World is a thoughtful play for pragmatism in the vegan movement. Drawing on effective altruist principles and social psychology research, leenaert explores how our biases can blind our advocacy for animals. He makes a powerful case for dropping conventional wisdom and leaving our comfort zone, and instead starting from first principles in our quest to best help animals. Lewis Bollard, Farm Animal Welfare Program Officer, the Open Philanthropy Project. People don't do anything when they think they have to do everything. This helpful book provides a practical outline for guiding people to take positive steps and for being the type of activist who asks the question, do I want to be right or do I want to be effective? Colin Patrick Goodrow offers the 30-day vegan challenge. Writing with precision and clarity How to Create a Vegan World provides sophisticated and unflinching insights that encourage animal advocates to utilize context-driven, unconventional, and often counterintuitive strategies. Tightly woven layers of thought-provoking ideas champion a broad range of tactics and potential allies intended to sharpen our critical thinking and maximize our impact. Dawn Moncrief, founding director of Well-Fed World. How to Create a Vegan World delivers some hard truths about our effectiveness as animal advocates. It is thought-provocation at its finest. A required read for all pragmatic activists looking for evidence-based research and strategies that are proven to work. Matthew Glover, co-founder Veganuary. This book is important in offering a common-sense roadmap to reflect upon as we navigate the complicated path ahead. It is significant in weaving together both theory and research. Tobias' writings have helped shape how I think about my own research and have helped me reconsider how I view veganism and impact. Catherine Asher, Research Director, Phonalytics PhD candidate, University of New Brunswick. How to Create a Vegan World, a Pragmatic Approach, Tobias Leenaert, illustrations by Amy Hall Bailey. Curtain Books, New York, a division of Booklight Inc. Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. Rabindranath Tagore. Contents. Forwards. In the concluding lines of Animal Liberation, I wrote, Human beings have the power to continue to oppress other species forever or until we make this planet unsuitable for living beings. Will our tyranny continue, proving that morality counts for nothing when it clashes with self-interest? As the most cynical of poets and philosophers have always said. Or will we rise to the challenge and prove our capacity for genuine altruism by ending our ruthless exploitation of the species in our power, not because we are forced to do so by rebels or terrorists, but because we recognize that our position is morally indefensible? The answer to this question depends on the way in which each one of us individually answers it. More than 40 years later, we still don't know the answer to the question, but the altruists have gained some ground. Across the entire European Union, from Portugal to Poland and from Finland to Greece, some of the confinement systems that are described in Animal Liberation, que je lirai plus tard, have been banned. They have also been banned in California, and major corporations like McDonald's and Walmart have agreed to phase out their use of products from animals reared by those methods. 40 years ago, few people even knew that the word vegan meant. In places like Berlin, it was difficult to find restaurants that served vegetarian dishes, let alone vegan ones. Now Berlin has a thriving vegan scene, as do many cities in Europe, North America, Australia, and several other countries as well. That change has come rapidly, mostly in the past decade. Vegan food is getting better all the time. Substantial investment are going into companies that are seeking to grow meat at the cellular level or to produce plant-based alternatives that have the same texture and taste as animal products. There is therefore reason for hope that a major shift toward a vegan world is beginning in the pages that follow. Tobias Leenaert shows how this hope can be fulfilled. Although the word that he seeks is consistent with the one I was hoping for when I wrote Animal Liberation, His approach serves as a useful corrective to the manner in which I posed the question in the lines quoted above. If veganizing the world depends on each one of us choosing altruism over self-interest, then for the foreseeable future the world will be, at best, only partially vegan. I am far from being cynical about the existence of altruism. In working in the animal movement as well as in the effective altruism movement, I have met people who work incredibly hard in order to reduce the suffering of animals, and I am personally acquainted with 3 people who have donated their kidneys to complete strangers. But there are also many selfish people in the world, and even more people who, if not exactly selfish, do not extend their ethical gaze beyond themselves, their family and friends. For these people, the fact that a meal they enjoy causes animals to suffer will not lead them to a different menu choice. Nor will the fact that their meal contributes more to climate change than other meals they could easily choose. They will change only when they are persuaded that it is healthier for them, or more convenient, or less expensive, or perhaps when so many people become vegan that they begin to worry about standing out from the mainstream and being publicly shamed for a diet that has come to seem barbaric. That is why I now accept that Leenaert is right when he suggests that we are all too prone to believe that there is one correct route to our goal, one road to Veganville, as he calls it, and we know what that route is. There are many routes, and often we don't know which of them will get us to our goal faster. Some of us think we should just tell people about the enormity of our slaughter of animals and the suffering that we inflict on the animals we eat. Once they have that knowledge, surely they have no excuse to avoid turning vegan. Others believe that a gentler, friendlier route will be more successful. They think that we should seek improvements in the welfare of farmed animals and encourage people to reduce the amount of animal products in their diet. Others, again, prefer not to mention animal suffering, believing that there is a larger audience ready to reduce their carbon footprint. So, these advocates argue on the basis of the contribution that animal products make to climate change. Another group thinks that people are more likely to change their behavior if we can persuade them that eating animal products is not good for their health. But as leenaert demonstrates, the initial reason why people change is not that important, and the concern for animals may follow later. We need to test different approaches and get some reliable data on what works and what doesn't when it comes to persuading people to become vegan. And above all, we need to make it as easy as possible for people to make the change. There are few people as well qualified to talk about these issues as leenaert is. As founder and for 10 years director of the Belgian organization Ethical Vegetarian Alternative, he was involved in a campaign that ended with Ghent becoming the first city in the world to officially adopt a weekly vegetarian day. Then a co-director with Melanie Joy of the Center for Effective Vegan Advocacy, he has run training workshops in vegan advocacy in Europe, South America, South Africa, Asia, and Australia. Now he draws on his wide experience and routine to enable others to become more effective vegan advocates. One of the things I like best about this book is that Leenaert is under no illusions about the difficulty of reaching his destination of a vegan world, but this does not discourage him from together all the available knowledge about how to get there soonest. If you want to contribute to the vegan movement and to the better world that it is seeking, this book is an excellent place to start, or if you are already part of that movement, this book will help you to take stock of how well you are doing and suggest ways in which you can do better. Peter Singer, April 2017. Peter Singer, qu'on lira plus tard, obviously. Introduction, page 1. The long way to Veganville. In all affairs, it's a healthy thing now and then to hang a question mark on the things you have long taken for granted, attributed to Bertrand Russell. To end the killing and suffering of animals at human hands may be one of the greatest challenges ever undertaken by a group of people. If you're reading this book, you are probably part of that group. You might be a vegetarian, a vegan, a meat reducer, or simply a believer or an ally. You might donate to animal causes or work or volunteer for an animal rights or vegan organization. You could be in business or government, or you might simply want to learn more about how you can help animals. It's my hope that regardless of who you are and what you do, if you want to help create a better world for animals, you will gain new insights from this book. How to Create a Vegan World presents a pragmatic strategy to guide us toward a tipping point regarding society's attitudes and behavior toward animals, particularly farmed animals. Here's a brief outline of what you'll read. As I write, all of us are dependent on animals. More and more people around the world eat animal-based meals, sometimes 3 times a day. I call these people stakeholders. To change this situation, we cannot mainly or overly rely on persuading them through arguments that appeal to ethics. We need to use any means at our disposal. Traditionally, the animal rights AR movement has tried to change people's attitudes and motivate them to alter their behavior. The complementary approach I describe in this book is to ask advocates to focus on making behavioral change much easier so that less motivation is required. I suggest that we are pragmatic as follows. Rather than only using a go vegan message, we also spend significant resources on encouraging the public to reduce their consumption of animal products. We'll be able to reach the tipping point faster with a mass of reducers than with a small number of vegans. We allow people to change for whatever reason they choose, not just because they are persuaded by the moral case for not eating animals. People often change their attitude after and not before they alter their behavior. We foster an environment that facilitates change, mainly by making the alternatives to animal products better, cheaper, and even more available. We develop a more relaxed concept of veganism. Slow opinion. We often rush to judgment about issues. The internet and social media, where it takes only a few seconds to publish a comment or a sneer, contribute to fast opinion. I am an enthusiastic proponent of slow opinion. If you're a slow opinionist, you are aware of the complexities of life, people, and modern society, and you refuse to form an opinion before you've thought things through and become informed about them. Slow opinionists don't believe that those on the other side of an argument or issue are necessarily wrong. They won't say yes or no too fast. Slow opinionists as Christians and tell the person who currently disagrees with their position that they'll get back to them after they've taken some time to think about the issue their opponent has raised. Slow opinion is also about empathy. It's about wondering what it's like to be in the other person's shoes. Slow opinionists ask themselves about other people. What values are important for them? What opinions, what positions are they in? Could they perhaps have a good reason to say right or do this? One of the greatest advantages of slow opinion is it can reduce judgmentalism and blanket condemnation of other people, including those who we love to hate, such as politicians and celebrities, and their opinions. The animal advocacy and vegan movements could benefit a lot from slow opinion and deep thinking. We could stand to be less judgmental of people on our side as well as those on the other. Slow opinion would help us to refine our strategies to influence people positively. For many of my fellow animal advocates and vegans, the approach I set out in this book will appear to break the rules and diverge from well-trodden paths. But I believe that everything, even our most heartfelt beliefs, should be scrutinized on occasion so we can make sure we are on the right track and continuously improve our tactics and strategies. Even if you may not agree with everything you read, and I suggest you keep an open mind and be a slow opinionist. Find it out what works. Slow opinion may make us more deliberative and strategic, but I don't want our openness to nuance and uncertainty to paralyze us. That's why we need to conduct due diligence in finding out what works. Sometimes we may need to test approaches and we're not sure of to see if they move us closer to our goal or not. In Steven Spielberg's movie Lincoln, the eponymous hero and representative Thaddeus Stevens discuss how to pass the amendments that will abolish slavery. Stevens talks about our inner compass and how it should point north, showing us where to go and what is right. Regrettably, he adds, many people's compass is off. This is Lincoln's reply. A compass I learned when I was surveying it will point you true north from where you are standing, but it's got no advice about the swamps and desert and chasm that you will encounter along the way. If in pursuit of your destination you plunge ahead, hit less of obstacles, and achieve nothing more than to sink in a swamp, what's the use of knowing true north? Total. Lincoln, at least in the film, is wily and shrewd, although his caution and deliberation infuriate those who feel the moral imperatives of their cause demand direct action. Lincoln knows that effective strategies or tactics are those that help us get to our goal as fast as possible. They may not necessarily be the straightest or purest or, for that matter, the most obvious. When discussing strategies, many of us are likely to commit one of two errors. The first is to believe that there's one correct approach. People and society are obviously too varied and complicated for that to be true. The second is the opposite of the first. It's to think that all strategies are useful and necessary. Some will work better than others, and we want to invest our limited resources in the best of or most promising of them. We shouldn't be satisfied with true but trivial statements like different approaches will work for different people. If we only persuade one person when we could have persuaded 1,000, we've wasted our effort, unless of course that one person carries considerably influence in society. Moreover, it's possible that some strategies could do more harm than good. If a strategy appeals to 100 people but alienates 1,000 others, it's probably not effective. If we want to know which strategies, tactics, or campaigns are more successful than others, we cannot simply rely on our personal experiences, gut feelings, or intuition. They have their place, but we need to support them with data from proven research. Our assumptions about what drives or affects other people are often wrong, and we are prone to many biases. In sum, we need to think things through. We should conduct research and collect data and evidence, even if we can't expect definitive outcomes or answers to all our questions. We should take into account many different factors, parameters, and unknowns across a wide range of types of research. Some researches, whether from organizations or academic institutions, may measure people's reactions to statements and images, their psychological predispositions and motivations, how they click online, and other behaviors. Some may study the history of other social movements for lessons valuable to our own. We can also use results from studies of other topics like psychology or social science, or even marketing, innovation, and other disciplines. The insights we gather through all these methods help us improve our efforts to create the changes we want. For this book, I've relied as much as possible on research featured in the previous paragraph and have referenced my statements as much. Most of what I present is backed up by evidence of various degrees of strength. The rest is more speculative and may or may not be confirmed by future research. Part of the function of this book is to raise questions, to stimulate your thinking, and to encourage further research. Effective altruism. Effective altruism, EA, is a philosophy and movement whose proponents apply scientific research and evidence to reduce suffering and increase happiness. The EA movement is not only playing a major role in further mainstreaming the issue of cruelty to animals, but it's had a significant influence on animal advocacy itself in the last few years. EA concepts and ideas have helped the AR movement focus more on effectiveness by emphasizing the different criteria we should take into account when we make choices and assess our influence. Such criteria are the amount and the intensity of suffering, the resources that are already invested in a certain problem. Is it, in other words, neglected? And whether there are good and clear solutions to that problem. One EA organization within the domain of animal advocacy is Animal Charity Evaluators, which seeks to discover and advocate for effective methods to improve the lives of animals. Also instrumental in making animal advocacy more evidence-based and results-oriented are books by Nick Coney, Veganomics, Change of Heart, How to Be Great at Doing Good, and the organization Faunalytics. See the appendix and bibliography for more details. The road to Veganville. Throughout this book, I use a metaphor to illustrate my argument and clarify different concepts. It makes the strategy easier to remember. Veganville is an imaginary town on top of a mountain. Most of you reading this book may live there already. But if you do, my aim is to get as many other people as we can to live with us as soon as possible. Like all metaphors, this one isn't perfect. For one thing, our town would be extremely crowded, but it serves a purpose. Below, the different parts of the metaphor are explained in more detail. In Chapter 1, Getting Our Bearings, we take a look at where we want to go and where exactly we are at the moment. From a brief look at the present situation, I conclude that our movement needs a high dose of pragmatism. In which of the next chapters I explain how to be pragmatic. In Chapter 2, The Call to Action, we examine what we should ideally ask people in order to get them to start moving. It might appear that the most obvious thing to tell them would be, "Come to us right now." But following Lincoln's logic, perhaps there are different roads to Veganville, or we can tell people to make the journey in stages, or they can visit on day trips. Chapter 3, Arguments, asks with which reasons we can or should use to encourage others to join us. People need to hike for many days uphill to arrive at Veganville. We know it's worth the effort, but they don't. At least not yet. How best to motivate them? Chapter 4, Environment, is about everything external to our travelers. We'll need to improve the roads and make sure that there are lodges, resting places and assistance should they need some help en route. Chapter 5, Support, is about us coming down from the mountain and encouraging people to start and keep climbing. It's about our day-to-day interactions and communication with them. In this chapter, I also take a closer look at how we should define veganism. Chapter 6, Sustainability, is about ensuring that once our travelers have made it, they stay and that those who help others climb the mountain don't burn out. In the illustration of the road to Veganville below, Fig 1, the numbers indicate the chapters in the book. Fig 1, the road to Veganville. Arguments, calls to action, getting our bearings, support, environment, sustainability. Ta-da! Fini le chapitre 1. On terms and scope, though animals suffer and are killed for more than just our eating habits, I mainly focus on decreasing the consumption and production of animal foods. Animal agriculture is the most far-reaching and consequential form of animal exploitation. It accounts for 99% of the animals killed by humans, and many more animals die in the food industry than through scientific research, hunting, or the clothing and entertainment industries combined. When I talk about meat, death, I am usually referring to meat and other animal products, including fish, dairy, and eggs, just like meat reducers stands for reducers of animal products. When I write about vegans, I also include vegetarians. Where the difference between both is significant are what vegetarians and vegans. With the vegan movement or the animal rights movement, I described a diverse and ever-shifting group of people that wishes to minimize animal killing, suffering, and injustice. We'll talk about the exact aim in the next several pages. Even though they may differ slightly about the end goal, and much more about how to get there. I don't want to exclude people who are specifically or mainly motivated by concerns for their health from carrying the vegan label. Indeed, I don't believe that's strategic. For the purpose of this book, however, when I talk about the vegan movement, I am thinking of those who are motivated by a belief that it is unethical to utilize animals for food, clothing, and other purposes. I include myself among them with some caveats, and you will read. My examples mainly come from the movement in Europe and North America. Most available research is conducted from these regions, especially the US. Sometimes facts and data can be extrapolated to other regions, sometimes they can't or shouldn't. In North America and Europe, consumption of animal products is stagnating or declining. In developing countries, it is often rising fast. Finally, for brevity's sake, I use the term animals rather than non-human animals. On continue plus tard.